G'day guys, right here, your coffee coach. I'm doing this introduction because while I was at MICE last year in October, I met up with Manuel from Bentwood Coffee Grinders. And they released this fantastic grinder called the Bentwood 63, which is a vertical grinder with 63mm burrs. Now the story behind it is that Manuel actually came from Malhkonig. Of course, you know how much I love the EK43, but they saw an opportunity in the market to improve on what essentially was a spice grinder that fell into the coffee market through Matt Purge's experiments and it exploded. They saw what was wrong with that and how they could improve on that, and what they've come up with is the Bentwood 63. It's an amazing grinder. It has no way to uncalibrate the burrs. So the burrs are specifically designed to give you complete consistency every time, right down to the micron. And a lot of you would know, if you work in cafes or if you've experienced multiple different grinders, that trying to get the grind size from one grinder to another grinder to another grinder is very difficult. The only other place I know that uses microns is the Groove, the sifter, which shows you this is 1100 microns and the coffee will fall through those particular holes. However, you will see this other video that I made on the Groove. I didn't feel like this was really worth the money. The Bentwood grinder, about 4,000 Australian dollars. It looks like it will improve on what the Groove can do with being able to dial into the exact microns. So for filter drinkers, this is an amazing benefit because you don't normally get those level of details. Normally you walk into a cafe and you say, oh, I need to grind it for 1 or 2 or 2.2. But on each EK43, those grind sizes are completely different because each machine is calibrated differently. Well, with the Bentwood, every machine is calibrated exactly, precisely down to the micron. So when your customers come in and they asked for a really great coffee filter that they had last time and it was done at 1100 microns, then you can dial it in precisely to that micron level and grind their coffee exactly the way that they want it. That's only one of the features. There's a lot of features, but I won't get in the way anymore. I'll take you straight to the horse's mouth where Manuel, the engineer behind this machine, and why the machine was called Bentwood, because I thought it was an American machine manufacturer, but they're actually a Swiss and German engineered machine. I can tell you the story is very interesting. Manuel is a brilliant genius and I can't wait to share with you the Bentwood 63, and hopefully we'll get one in here and I can do a hands-on review down the track. So let's get into it. Is this your company?
Right, yeah.
Tell us about, because I hear the story, you came across from Malhkonig, you saw an opportunity in the market to really do something that's competitive, right, and increase and improve upon what the Malhkonig shortfalls are.
Right.
So yeah, take us through the Bentwood, how you come up with the concept and design, and how did you advance all of those improvements?
Right, it was generally my thinking was, I got a consumer goods background, and in consumer goods you always try to meet the consumer, the customer's needs, right? I realized generally coffee machinery was very much built around like what is good for engineering, what is good for production. And I thought it's about time to create a product that really meets the barista's need on one hand side, but as well emphasizes on the taste. And then it was taking a step back, understanding what influences taste the most, and then getting these things work around and then make the engineers happy. So it's almost like a reverse engineering that what's happening normally. And make it as well work for both like drip coffees, filters and espresso. And then make it easy to change between the two of them and have that consistency and being able to repeat the good results over and over again. And what we did then basically changing little things here and there and then blind cupping. Okay, this works, it doesn't work, and again and again and again, blind cupping, different people, Q graders, baristas, specialty coffee roasters, and once they all were happy, I knew we were onto something.
Yeah. Well, it's brilliant because, yes, the Malhkonig was never really intended to be used as a particular coffee grinder, I mean, we talked to the Malhkonig guys before, and we understand that it was a spice grinder with a back end being the coffee grinder, but never the intention that it's being used until Matt Perger brought it out and started using it in the World Cup, Brewers Cup. But you've come from Malhkonig, so you've got that German engineering background, you've got the quality, the consistency, and I love the idea that you've gone with the microns, because my biggest frustration, I have two Malhkonigs, and they're different, even the two between them. You know, so even if a customer comes in and wants it and they said, oh, I got it done on the 2.1 setting, you go, well, which machine did you get it done on? Was it this one or this one? Because it doesn't really equate. But this now eliminates that confusion. A customer can come in, and as well as understanding now a bit more about the size of granules, they can start to say, yeah, I would like it at 215 microns or whatever it goes down to. And they can get that consistency every time whilst learning about it. And the similar situations that you've got in the Malhkonig, the ease of being able to dial from, you know, down Turkish right around to French press. You've got the same sort of ease of use with the vertical blades.
That's right.
What else have you done to improve upon on that Malhkonig system?
Well, basically, the mechanical build though is quite different in a couple of aspects. One being that the screws of that fix the burrs, they go from the back of the burr, so you have the face of the burrs being just the burr geometry, right? The burr geometry is really built for grinding coffee beans, right? And you spend so much time trying different burr sets, but you want as well the burr's teeth to cut them and not the screw heads. Then all the surrounding around, all these expensive aluminum bits, they do their work and add to the consistency with their weight, and you know, it's not something wobbling around, but it's consistent. And then finding a system, and there's over and over the same again. So what you've been mentioning before is very important for roasters, because pretty much they can give a recipe with the grinder and for the coffee. They can say that light roast comes in at 180 microns. And you know, maybe someone has a different espresso machine and it extracts better at the 185. But you know, ballpark, your first shot already is going to be pretty good, right? Then you have ambient being different temperature. But you know, it's surprising, across the globe, we normally give with the grinder like a guidance and say that's for filter, that's for espresso. And people, like with the first, second or third shot, they are super happy. And then they can still decide, oh, I want a bit more of that fruity notes, I want a bit more of the complexity, and then they arrange accordingly. But they feel they got that control, and they can tell their friends, you know, buy that coffee and put it on that setting, and they can replicate it, like, wow, that's amazing. And that's really cool.
Tell us a bit about the name, because the name, when I first heard of Bentwood, I immediately thought American manufacturing. And, you know, not Malhkonig, but so what, just tell us a bit about the name, why you went down Bentwood. Is there some history behind that?
So I'm originally from Austria, from Vienna, and we have that old coffee culture, right? And initially I thought I'm gonna call it just taking the first Viennese coffee shop and then translating it to English to make it an international brand, and that should be it. So I checked it out and found out the first coffee shop in Vienna was Blaue Flasche, English name Blue Bottle.
Blue what?
A blue bottle.
All right.
And then I was like, oh, hang on, there's something in the US with that name. And I checked out homepage Blue Bottle. Turns out the owner of Blue Bottle, I think his grandparents came from Vienna, and he had exactly the same thought. So I was like, okay, gotta find something else. And then I read all about these coffee houses, and you know, the traditional coffee house chairs were made out of bent wood, right?
Didn't know that.
So bent wood was used for, you know, to put on the newspapers, and you know, everything was bent wood in the coffee houses. You find it as well in France, Italy, everywhere. And it's a very nice, sustainable way of using wood. You know, you just bend it instead of cutting it, chopping away half of it. You just bend it by steaming it. And I thought, oh, that's very ecological, nice. I wanted to use wood as well for the side panels, drip tray. I thought it's a perfect match. And
Brilliant story. Thank you for sharing that with us. It really is great, because I mean, there are a lot of great innovations coming out of America now as well, but it's great to know that you have that German engineering, or Austrian engineering in your case, background, and because I think that's really important when people want to know about quality, precision, and the mechanics behind it. We've actually got it open now, so you can even show us a bit about the housing in here as well. So
the key thing, you know, is what you see here right away is why the alignment is that good. It's because you see it's like a tunnel, right?
Yeah.
And if you turn that here now, you can easily see there's no space between.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't aligned, it would right away scratch the grinding chamber, and you would hear it.
You're right.
So there's no way, if that turns freely, right?
Yep.
You know already it's got to be
Yeah.
pretty aligned. And that's why during assembly, we have a super high certainty things work out. Then as well, you see that there are no screws going through the burrs. And you see the auger that works like a pre-breaker, right? So that helps especially with light roasts. So we even have people doing like Turkish coffee or Greek coffee at light roast because you can do it. It works. So the motor is powerful enough, which is important, and then the burrs can do it as well with the help of the pre-breaker. And then you see the thick aluminum parts, which help to keep it cool.
Yep.
All CNC manufactured. And what you see as well, if you take that part now, so the burr carrier with the second burr, you see as well how easy it is to reassemble, because basically there's only one way to reassemble it, right?
Yep.
So these guides here, they show you, and there's only that one way this can fit. So no one can go wrong reassembling it. Then you don't need to be a technician to do it, right? So it's super fast. Then you put back the thread, and you will always get back to the same zero calibration as you had it before. So you don't need to fiddle around.
Yeah. Which, you know, I've had to fix my Malhkonig many times and broken a few plates as in the
shear plates.
Yeah, the shear plates, they several times, and then obviously the spring was really hard to push in there. I had to get, in the end, help from another engineer to help me actually fix it.
Yeah.
It was really frustrating, and then I noticed that the calibration slips sometimes afterwards. Mine's an older one, so obviously that factors into it. But yeah, knowing that it's always the same calibration, it's zero calibration, you don't need to worry about that. You're not going to stuff it up. That really makes it a really tempting competition for the Malhkonig. So yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for talking with us, Manuel. We were talking
the
with
time.
James, and now we got to meet the man, the genius, the brains behind the Bentwood grinder. So thank you for telling us all the backstory. And yeah, well, we'll definitely be in touch with this in future.
Cool.
So there you have it. If you're a filter drinker, home barista, or work in a cafe, or own a cafe, check out the Bentwood 63. Let me know if anyone's got one, because I'd love to know what your experience is as well. I really think this grinder could eclipse EK43s in the future. Certainly one that I want to try out in my cafe. So let me know if you've owned one or if you had any experience with one, because I'd love to hear it in the comments. If you like the video, give me a like, subscribe really helps as well. Super thanks, whatever you like. Even if you just leave a comment, that's all good too. I'm Ride, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew.